Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. The tension in Washington is boiling over. After another frustrating and completely avoidable loss, the Commanders find themselves sitting at 3-3, staring down a season that suddenly feels like it's teetering on the edge. Head coach Dan Quinn, usually composed and precise in his messaging, didn't sugarcoat anything this time. He sent a stern, no-nonsense warning to his players that the kind of performance they showed against the Chicago Bears simply isn't acceptable. Not in the NFL, not with the talent this roster has, and certainly not with the expectations surrounding this team heading into the year. The Commanders walked into that game as favorites, with a clear opportunity to prove they were more than just a .500 team trying to find its footing. Instead, they walked out as a team searching for answers, with more questions piling up by the minute. When you think about it, this was a game Washington should have won 10 times out of 10. Everything about it screamed, trap game. But even so, there's no excuse for how they came out. Flat, sluggish, and uninspired. From Jaden Daniels' costly fumble to the defense's repeated missed tackles, to the offense once again taking an entire quarter to wake up, it was a collective breakdown. These weren't just isolated mistakes. They were patterns, bad habits that have become too familiar, too comfortable. Dan Quinn saw that, and he let his team know in no uncertain terms that this kind of effort won't fly if they plan on being anything more than average. "We've become too accustomed to digging ourselves in a hole too early," Quinn said post-game, and that one line felt like it summed up the entire Commanders season so far. It's one thing to lose a hard-fought game to a superior team. It's another to hand the game away through self-inflicted wounds. That's what Washington did against Chicago. Turnovers killed drives, slow starts killed momentum, and mental mistakes wiped away opportunities that could have turned the tide. The Commanders aren't losing because they lack talent. They're losing because they keep beating themselves. It's a theme that's popped up week after week. And while the NFL is a league built on parity, where any team can win on any given Sunday, the difference between playoff contenders and pretenders often comes down to discipline, execution, and consistency. Right now, Washington is failing on all three fronts. Dan Quinn knows this. He's been around championship-caliber locker rooms before. He's seen what it takes to win in this league. That's why his frustration feels so palpable. He's not angry just for the sake of being angry. He's angry because he knows this team is better than what they're showing. He knows they have the pieces to compete, but potential means nothing without results. When he stood before the media after the loss and said, "You really don't deserve to win many games when you're in that space," it wasn't just coach speak. It was truth. You can't finish -3 in the turnover battle, miss multiple tackle opportunities, and expect to win in the NFL. The most concerning part of all this is that it's not new. The Commanders have made a habit of stumbling out of the gate, only to spend the rest of the game trying to dig themselves out of the hole they created. It's happened against the Bills, against the Eagles, and nearly again last week against the Chargers, though they escaped that one by the skin of their teeth. But relying on comeback magic every week isn't sustainable. Eventually, that luck runs out. And on Monday night, it did. The Bears capitalized on every mistake, and by the time Washington realized it, it was too late. This is the kind of loss that lingers, the kind that can change the entire direction of a season. Quinn's message wasn't just about the scoreboard. It was about mentality. Winning in the NFL, as he pointed out, is hard enough. You can't afford to make it harder on yourself. That's what separates good teams from mediocre ones. The ability to win the games you're supposed to win, to stay focused, disciplined, and resilient when the pressure mounts. The Commanders have shown flashes of being that kind of team. Jaden Daniels, despite his rookie mistakes, has displayed poise and leadership beyond his years. The defense, led by guys like Jonathan Allen and Darren Payne, has the talent to dominate. The problem is, none of it matters if they can't put it together for 4 quarters. You could feel the frustration not just from Quinn, but from the entire locker room. Players know they let one slip away. They know that being .500 in a division with the Cowboys and Eagles isn't where they want to be. It's one thing to talk about accountability. It's another to live it. This is the point in the season where talk won't cut it anymore. The Commanders have to respond. Not next month, not when it's convenient, but right now. Because the road ahead, it's brutal. Next up are the Dallas Cowboys, a divisional rival that thrives on exposing teams that aren't disciplined. Then, as if that weren't enough, the Commanders head into Kansas City to take on Patrick Mahomes and the defending champions. That's followed by home games against Seattle and Detroit, two teams that play fast, physical, and fundamentally sound football. If Washington can't fix its slow starts and turnover issues, those 4 weeks could define, or completely derail, their season. The Commanders could emerge battle-tested and resilient, or they could crumble under the weight of their own inconsistency. The difference, as always, comes down to leadership. Dan Quinn isn't one to panic, but he also doesn't tolerate complacency. His message after the Bears game wasn't about pointing fingers. It was about demanding accountability across the board. Every player, every coach, every unit has to own their part in this. The offense can't keep relying on Daniels to create magic out of broken plays. The defense can't keep giving up big yards on third down. Special teams can't afford miscues that flip field position. Everyone has to elevate, because right now, good enough isn't cutting it. There's something almost poetic about the way this Commanders team plays. They're talented enough to hang with anyone, but flawed enough to beat themselves at any moment. That's the story of so many middle-of-the-pack teams in NFL history. Teams that flirt with greatness but never quite seize it. Dan Quinn doesn't want that to be their legacy. He's been there before, with Atlanta, where he saw how quickly momentum can shift, how a promising start can dissolve into heartbreak if you don't learn from your mistakes. You get the feeling he's drawing from that experience now, trying to instill a sense of urgency before it's too late. Fans, meanwhile, are restless. They've seen this movie before. They've seen coaches come in with big talk about culture change and accountability, only to watch the same patterns repeat themselves. What makes this different, they hope, is Quinn's pedigree and his no-nonsense approach. He's not afraid to call out poor effort. He's not afraid to bench a player who isn't producing. And maybe that's exactly what this team needs, a little tough love, a little old-school coaching to shake them out of this funk. Still, you can't ignore the bigger picture. The Commanders are in a critical year, not just for the players but for the entire organization. A new ownership group, a fan base desperate for relevance, and a head coach trying to establish a new identity. There's pressure coming from every direction. That kind of pressure can either break a team or forge it into something stronger. Right now, no one knows which direction Washington will go. But one thing's for sure, Dan Quinn's message was loud and clear. No more excuses. No more slow starts. No more giving games away. It's about pride now. Pride in preparation, pride in execution, pride in representing a franchise that's trying to rebuild its image. The Commanders don't need to be perfect. They just need to be consistent. They need to stop beating themselves before they can start beating the teams that really matter. Because in the NFL, momentum is everything. One bad loss can spiral into a losing streak just as easily as one gritty win can reignite a season. The question is, which version of the Commanders will show up in Dallas next week? If Dan Quinn's words resonated, if they truly hit home, we'll see a team that comes out angry, focused, and ready to prove something. We'll see a defense that sets the tone early, an offense that finds rhythm before halftime, and a team that refuses to let mistakes define them. But if those words go unheard, if the same slow starts, turnovers, and mental lapses continue, then this season might already be slipping away. Because in the NFL, opportunities are fleeting, and for the Washington Commanders, the time for talking is over. The only thing that matters now is how they respond. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. Boom. Stop the presses, NFL fans, because what we're hearing right now is sending shockwaves across the league. T. Higgins, yes, the T. Higgins, the star wide receiver who has been lighting up Cincinnati for years, is reportedly on the move. And hold on to your hats, because sources are whispering, murmuring, and straight-up buzzing that Higgins is leaving the Bengals behind and is now set to become the latest big-name addition to the Washington Commanders. Now, before you brush this off as just another off-season rumor, let me tell you, the chatter around this move is heating up faster than a 4th of July grill. People who claim to be close to the situation are saying this isn't just a fluke, this isn't speculation. It's a he's packing his bags kind of situation. T. Higgins, the player who has made defenses sweat with his combination of size, speed, and that incredible ability to make contested catches might soon be donning the burgundy and gold instead of the orange and black. Imagine the scene if this comes to pass. Washington, a team that's been hunting for a true, game-changing wideout for what feels like an eternity, suddenly snapping up one of the most dynamic receivers in the league. The potential chemistry with their quarterback could redefine the offense. Higgins, a player who's been steadily climbing the ranks among the NFL's elite wide receivers, now paired with a team desperate to make a splash, creates a narrative that practically writes itself. Analysts and fans alike are already speculating how this could transform Washington's passing game. Could this be the move that finally turns them into serious contenders in the NFC East? Or is it the start of a more significant roster overhaul? All eyes are on Higgins and the Commanders' front office, because if this rumor is true, it's not just a signing, it's a statement. But let's rewind a bit and think about the Bengals side of this. Cincinnati has been riding high with Joe Burrow at quarterback and a plethora of receiving weapons, including Ja'Marr Chase, who's a superstar in his own right. So why would Higgins suddenly be on the move? Well, sources close to the locker room hint at a mix of factors. Contract negotiations, playing time, long-term visions for the team. These are the kinds of issues that simmer beneath the surface until they boil over. Imagine the tension when a player like Higgins, who has been integral to the Bengals' aerial assault, starts entertaining offers from elsewhere. The Commanders, reportedly seeing an opportunity, could have swooped in with a package that was impossible to refuse. And let's be honest, the allure of stepping into a role where he could be the focal point, the main target, and the headline maker, well, for a player of Higgins' caliber, that's a pretty compelling proposition. Now, the fan reaction alone is enough to stir up the rumor mill even more. Bengals fans are reportedly in shock, some in disbelief, some already expressing their frustration online. Hashtags are being tossed around, memes are being crafted at lightning speed, and sports talk shows are buzzing with what-if scenarios. On the flip side, Commanders fans are in pure euphoria. The idea of adding a receiver who can stretch the field, dominate contested catches, and elevate the quarterback's confidence is sending ripples of optimism across the fan base. Some insiders are even saying that this move could signal the start of an aggressive offseason strategy by Washington, possibly including other high-profile acquisitions or trades. The narrative of a Commanders revival is suddenly feeling much more tangible, much more real. And think about the strategic implications here. T. Higgins isn't just any receiver. He's the kind of player who can change defensive schemes. When he's on the field, cornerbacks and safeties have to make difficult choices, opening up opportunities for the rest of the offense. Pairing him with Washington's offensive core could force rival teams in the NFC East to rethink their approach entirely. Suddenly, every defensive coordinator has to account for a deep threat capable of pulling double coverage, stretching the field, and making those highlight reel catches that swing momentum in a game. If this deal goes through, Higgins doesn't just join a team. He reshapes the tactical landscape for multiple franchises. And for a team that's been searching for a player to make that kind of impact, this could be the perfect storm. Rumors swirling around the NFL grapevine suggest the negotiations weren't easy. Bengals reportedly tried to keep Higgins in Cincinnati, dangling promises, hints of contract extensions, and incentives designed to retain his talents. But Washington's offer? Sources hint it might have been a masterstroke of timing, financial savvy, and vision alignment. One insider allegedly said, "The Commanders didn't just offer money. They offered a starring role, and for a player like Higgins, that's priceless." If you think about it, it makes sense. Higgins has spent years proving himself, building his legacy, and now the chance to become the centerpiece of an offense, to have the keys handed to him, could have been irresistible. The whispers indicate the deal could include performance incentives, leadership roles, and even involvement in shaping offensive strategy, a real signal that the Commanders see him as a cornerstone, not just a temporary fix. And the social media universe? Exploding. T. Higgins has been trending for days, with every sports analyst, every former player, and every armchair GM weighing in. Speculations are wild, from who Washington might pair him with on the outside, to how this affects the Bengals' Super Bowl aspirations, to whether this move signals a broader trend of superstar receivers looking for bigger roles outside their original teams. Podcasts are spinning this rumor into multiple episodes of what this could mean. Fan forums are filled with debates, and even casual observers are jumping into the conversation. The buzz alone is elevating the potential deal into must-watch territory. People are already predicting highlight reels, big touchdowns, and even playoff implications before a single official announcement has been made. And let's talk numbers for a moment. Higgins' stats in Cincinnati have been nothing short of impressive. Year after year, he's climbed the ranks in receptions, yardage, and touchdowns. His ability to connect with Joe Burrow, especially in high-pressure moments, has been a hallmark of his career. The big question now is whether he can replicate or even exceed that production in Washington. The quarterback there will have a new toy, a weapon capable of creating separation and generating explosive plays. Analysts are speculating wildly about how the Commanders' offensive schemes could evolve to maximize Higgins' talents. Could this be a game where he becomes the #1 target in every critical down? Could we be witnessing the birth of a new offensive juggernaut in the NFC? The possibilities are tantalizing, and the rumor mills are working overtime to envision every scenario. Finally, think about the human side of the story. T. Higgins, a young player in the prime of his career, making a decision that could define the next chapter of his journey. The pressure, the excitement, the uncertainty, it's a lot to digest. But if the whispers are true, this move isn't just about football. It's about legacy, opportunity, and seizing the moment when it presents itself. And if you're a fan of NFL drama, you know that these stories, these off-season maneuvers, are just as riveting as the games themselves. One thing is certain, whether it's true, whether it's still in negotiation, or whether it's a rumor that will fizzle, the chatter about T. Higgins and the Washington Commanders has already captured the imagination of fans everywhere. And in a league where the unexpected is always lurking around the corner, this story is the perfect example of why we can't stop watching, speculating, and dreaming about what's next. So buckle up, NFL fans, because if this rumor materializes, T. Higgins in a Commanders uniform could be the headline that defines the offseason. A blockbuster move, a strategic masterstroke, and a personal milestone for Higgins, all wrapped into one explosive package. The Bengals might be feeling the sting of losing a star, but the Commanders could be stepping into a new era of excitement, hope, and offensive firepower. And while nothing is official yet, the buzz, the speculation, and the rumors are already making waves strong enough to shake the entire league. T. Higgins to the Commanders? Stay tuned, because this story is far from over, and every day brings us closer to finding out if this jaw-dropping rumor becomes reality. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.